I'm Carrie Rogers, and I'm a student at UNCW. I recently went to a seminar at UNCW where I learned a lot about sex trafficking, especially here in Wilmington. I learned about this incredible organization called A Safe Place. It's a place where victims of sex trafficking can go, and it's a house where they can live and just be assisted in getting back on their feet. There's a lot of awesome volunteer opportunities there as well, and people can go and they can learn things like basic English, basic math there. They learn skills such as how to get a job and all different kinds of things. There's places for them to post what they need for maybe a different living situation they're trying to get into. So say a refrigerator or something, they can post what they need and the community can help donate those things. I was also astonished when I went to the seminar by how much sex trafficking is occurring still today in Wilmington, and I also learned so much about the warnings and red flags there are to help detect a potential victim of sex trafficking, such as if they have a certain branding or tattoo on them, if they're with someone that seems to be very controlling over them, if they're not dressed appropriately for their age or seem to not be able to handle their own money. And these are signs that I wasn't previously aware of, along with how prevalent sex trafficking is in Wilmington. And I really felt like we should be teaching this more to students, and it was the first time I really learned about not only how to detect a potential sex trafficking victim, but just how much that it is still an issue in Wilmington, so close to where we're living today. There was also a point in the lecture where they talked about the different places where people should be taught of these warning signs or red flags. And one that's really important is in the medical fields, like in hospitals, because a lot of the times these victims are going into hospitals, and if workers and nurses and just the staff in hospitals are taught these warning signs and red flags, we can help as best we can to eliminate the issue and detect different victims. And there was also many nursing students that were in the lecture, and they have worked in hospitals and volunteered. And there was one point where everybody was asked if working they had ever seen somebody that fit the description of a sex trafficking victim that we had just talked about. And I was amazed by how many people raised their hand. So many people, I would say about half of the nursing students raised their hand that guessed they'd seen a victim that fit this description. So that just goes to show how important it is for not even only people in the medical field to be educated about this issue and how to spot potential victims or abusers. One company that is already implementing this and educating their employees about these red flags of sex trafficking victims is called Miso Hair. So they're a hair salon and hair product company. So all of their employees are educated on warning signs and everything, and they also give free haircuts to sex trafficking victims, and one of their biggest goals is empowerment, and they really just aim to show these women that they are worth it, and they get to wash their hair and show them that they are beautiful and they are important and they are strong and people do care about them. So if not only healthcare providers, but all organizations in Wilmington and even beyond Wilmington can be educated about this issue, I think that we can all really come together and work to fight against this issue.
Hi, my name is Leanne Mixon. I am a registered nurse. I've been a nurse for 26 years. I have worked in almost every department that there is. I've done home health, I've done hospice, nursing home, pediatrics, med-surg, labor and delivery, ED, all the different areas. I am currently a nurse at Cape Fear Valley. I work in the coordination of care department. I work on discharge planning and barriers to discharge. When I was in nursing school a long time ago, we had no training on sex trafficking, identification, any of that. In fact, it was not even really an issue or a topic way back then. I did work at Sampson Regional 2 years ago, almost 3, and I was stationed down in the emergency department, so we would see a lot of rape victims and other sexual assault victims. They did have a team designated for that at Sampson. It was similar to a SART team, but not everyone was trained to identify or deal with these victims. The providers, once they determined that something was off or not right, then they would notify the appropriate people who were trained to deal with such. Not all were nurses. Some were nurses. Some went through the health department. Some were with the abuse clinic in the area. None of the staff specifically in the ED were trained in recognition or dealing with any of these issues. So it wouldn't be something that the regular staff nurse or person just working in a certain department would be trained to recognize, deal with. Someone would have to be trained and able to recognize it to notify other people who were trained to handle and deal with it to come and take over the case. Still, in the role that I'm in now, in coordination of care, we don't have specific training for it. There's no specific signs to look for. There's no training that I'm aware of in my current position for those of us who deal with patients daily. It's definitely an area that is more prominent than it was 25, 26 years ago, and definitely no more training or emphasis on the situation than there was 25, 26 years ago. I think that a lot of us nurses would benefit from at least a course on it during nursing school to make us aware of the situation and help us to recognize some signs so that we could point these people in the right direction at least.